Hey YouTube family, it's Sarah. I am back with part 3 of my Q&A answers videos. I'm going to try and get through the rest of these questions in this video. I may have to split it into 2 parts though, because it might go longer than 15 minutes, but I'm going to try my best to go through it as quickly as I can. Where are you from and where have you lived? I am from Burlington, Ontario, Canada, which is about 45 minutes, let's say, on a good day. Actually 35 on a really good day, but let's say 45 minutes west of Toronto. Somewhat between like Niagara Falls and Toronto on Lake Ontario. I grew up in a town called Dundas, which is just outside of Hamilton, Ontario, which is the equivalent of, let's say, Pittsburgh. It's the steel town in Canada, and my father actually did work for 30 years in a steel mill. So that's where I grew up, and that is about, let's say, half an hour west of here as well. The only other place that I've lived is Melbourne, Australia. I lived there twice, once on exchange with my university and once with my husband Will for about a year. So that's the only other place that I've lived. What is your goal weight, and has that number been the same since you started, or have you adjusted your goal as you went along? I started out with a goal weight of 190. And then I adjusted that up to 210 because I thought 190 maybe was unreachable for me. 210 is like 7 pounds away or 8 pounds away from me right now. So I definitely think I can get to 210. And actually I do think I probably could get to 190. Physically speaking, I have 20 pounds I could lose, or 28 pounds I could lose. Will I actually get there? I don't know. Because those are 2 different things. How small you can be and how small you want to be and how small you get to, totally different. My goal right now is actually just to get to 199. So I'd really like to get to Wonderland, even if it's for one day. I just want to see that 199 on the scale because I never in my life remember. Obviously I was under 200 pounds, but I think I was like 11. So yeah, that was a long time ago, 25 years ago. I don't really remember it. Just for one day, I want to see that 199 on the scale, and we'll kind of go from there. For me, with all the excess skin that I have, I do think that plastics, I probably will see maybe even a 5 to 10 pound loss after that. So, and it will also affect the way my clothes fit and that sort of thing, which is a big part of where I want to be. The number on the scale isn't really the most important to me, but more how I look, how my clothes fit, fitness and that sort of thing. So yes, it has changed and adjusted along the journey, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially if you're someone who's been overweight for a long time, or in my case basically my whole life. It's hard to judge what your goal weight should be if you've never really been there. So yeah, I don't think it's strange to have your goal weight change, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I think this was Kirk's question. Has your friendship with Max changed now that you guys don't have food binges to bond over? So for anyone who doesn't know, my best friend is named Max. We've known each other since we were 13. We call each other our non-sexual life partners or soulmates. We're super, super close, and we have always shared a love of good food and a lot of it. And I think that our relationship has definitely changed a little bit, but it's not really a big deal. I think every once in a while, we reminisce about the stuff that we used to eat or whatever. He's also made a lot of changes to make his life healthier as well. Not necessarily having to do with me losing weight or having surgery, but his own health. So yeah, I think that things have changed, but it hasn't, we haven't grown apart over it or anything like that. I do feel like I've grown apart from some of my friends since I've lost weight, but I don't think that it has to do with food. And I think I'm going to have to make a video separately about that as well. But that my relationship with Max, actually, strangely enough, is probably the one that's changed the least in my life. So I don't know why that is, but yeah. How do you handle the topic of weight loss, surgery, weight, body image, and healthy eating with your kids? This is probably another one I could make a whole video about, and I probably should make a whole video about, but I try to be as careful as I can when I talk about body image and weight and food and all that stuff in front of my kids, not even necessarily to them, because they hear everything. And there was a point at which my oldest son, who's 8, started like obsessing about the number of calories and things and whether he should be eating this or that. And I had to sort of sit him down and explain to him, listen, you know what, you aren't really overweight. You're a kid, you're 8, you're growing, you know, what you need to eat is totally different than what I need to eat, and what you need to worry about is different than what I need to worry about. You know, you don't need to worry about carbs right now. You need carbs for energy. So I did have to have a talk with him. My youngest is 5, and he, you know, has never really said anything about it. They don't really say anything about the fact that I look different. They really don't talk about it very much, to be honest. So, you know, when it comes to sort of food and body weight and that sort of thing, I mean, I try to be as positive as I can. I think because they're boys and just their age at this point, if they were girls, we would probably already be talking about it a lot. I don't think, it's not that boys don't have image issues, but I think for them, they often start later. And so it's not something that we talk about a lot, but when I do talk about it, even in relation to myself, I try and watch what I say in front of them, because I do think it's something that's really important. So, if you're interested in seeing a whole video on that, let me know, and I may do that, and maybe possibly do it with some other people as well, because I think it's something that's good to talk about. What has been your parents, siblings, in-laws' reaction to your weight loss, your transformation? I would say it's been positive. I don't have any siblings, so I can't do that one. But I would say, you know, my family, my husband's family, my close friends, everyone has been super positive. You know, the comments aren't as common anymore. But because there are certain people in the family I don't see that often, and there are some people I still haven't seen since surgery, a lot of people know that I've lost weight, but they haven't seen me, so they don't know what I look like. And a lot of those people, especially my husband's family, when they met me, I was like a size 22 or 24. So now I'm a size 14. Big difference. So I look really different to them. Everyone's comments have really been positive, and everyone's been very supportive. And you know, I still, like, my mom said to me today, she was like, wow, you're starting to look really skinny. Not really, but what she meant was, you look like you've lost more weight. And Max, my best friend, on Sunday night, he saw me, and I happened to be wearing something that was like fitted, and he was like, oh my gosh, look at you, you know, and he said, I'm so proud of you. And that was like really special, because yeah, so it's really sweet. My friends, honestly, I could not have more support, and that is integral, I think, in the success that I've had. So, and I'll be talking more about that soon too. That's just a hint. Do you have, oh no, sorry, I skipped one. When you started talking about weight loss surgery and the decisions that lead up to that, did you find your family came out of the woodwork to offer way to goes, as if they were just biting their tongues about how you lived your life previous to that point? If so, how did you perceive that? Did your feelings about it change with the day, being positive and negative? I think my situation is a little different than some people, because I was so extremely morbidly obese at like over 450 pounds. I never really had anyone say anything negative to me about surgery, because I don't think there was anyone that didn't realize I needed to do something about my weight. So I think they were just happy I was doing something. I did get sort of negative vibes here and there from people I know with my parents. I think they felt like, you know, why did I have to have surgery? Why couldn't I do it the old-fashioned way, as my mom would say? But now, you know, obviously they're totally on board and super supportive. I didn't tell a lot of people before I had surgery, so only my very close family and friends knew. I didn't tell other people because I didn't want to hear what they had to say. And actually, it was less about having surgery than it was about having surgery in Mexico, which was the part that most people were shocked about. So, but I know that it's definitely a problem for people who don't have supportive family. And the only thing that I can say is, you know, sometimes you do have to try and just see from their point of view where they're coming from. A lot of times it's fear. They're frightened for you. They are afraid you're going to have surgery and die, or whatever it is. All the horror stories that they've heard. Sometimes they're afraid you're going to succeed. And some of those things are just human nature. And, you know, some people you have to give the benefit of the doubt, and in other cases, you know, you may just have to ignore what they have to say. Ultimately, you need to have the surgery for you, and you are the only person that you need to answer to when it comes to that. So I don't know if that was the best advice, but that's the best I got today. Do you have days when your weight doesn't pop into your mind at all and you can celebrate that? If so, when in your journey has this happened? That's a really interesting question. I would say that these days, most days I don't actually really think about my weight. I'm really busy. I've got lots of stuff going on. You know, my eating habits and that sort of thing have become fairly routine. So there's never a day when I forget that I'm a weight loss surgery patient. I don't know that there ever will be, and I don't know that there should be a day that that happens. But there are definitely days when, actually recently there have been days I've forgotten to weigh myself, which is kind of crazy because everyone knows I'm like a serious daily weigher, and there have been days I've forgotten. So that kind of just goes to prove, you know, there are days that I kind of forget about it. And certainly my weight does not cause the issues that it used to cause. I no longer wonder if I'm going to fit in the booth at the restaurant, if I'm going to break the chair that I sit on. Slowly but surely, I've finally gotten to the point where those things are no longer an issue for me. Not only are they no longer an issue, but I don't forget that they aren't an issue. So I don't see a chair, generally speaking, it's happened a couple times. I don't see a chair and go, oh my God, am I going to break this chair? I realize that I'm under the weight limit for the chair or whatever it is. So, but that takes time for that to happen. So yes, I think that has happened, but I do think that it comes much later in your journey. I think this one was Katie. I'm trying to remember, but this was a really good question too. She said, I've been fat and pretty strong all of my life, so I've never not felt safe walking down the street by myself. I just started thinking that this could change for me as my body gets smaller and looks more like a mainstream woman. Has this changed for you? Have you taken a defense class or anything? I'm thinking I'd like to start with boxing or jiu-jitsu before I start with self-defense, but I wanted to know your thoughts on that. Good question. I always felt very safe for exactly that reason. I was tall, I was big. I was like, there's no way anyone's going to be dumb enough to attack me when they could attack some little girl who's not going to fight back. I think because I still think of myself as that girl, I've never really thought about it. You know, and I'm still like, I'm 5'10", I'm quite strong, I'm sturdy, you know, I still think I wouldn't make a great target. But yeah, it hasn't really occurred to me. That's really kind of interesting. It really made me think. And so I may, you know, just in general with trying different fitness things, go ahead and try martial arts and that kind of thing, because I do find it really interesting. So good question. What are some non-food ways you celebrate yourself? How do you treat yourself when you get to a certain weight or have a major NSV? I would like to say that it's not shopping, but mostly it is. So usually I will go out and buy something that I want. Sometimes it's travel, or at least that's how I justify it to myself. But I think it is important to reward yourself no matter what that is, whether it's time to yourself, whether it's rewarding yourself with something, as long as it's not with food. That's the only thing I can say. I definitely don't reward myself with food, because I do think that is counterintuitive, I guess, if you're a weight loss surgery patient. But like this happened today. Oh yeah, Victoria's Secret. That's the very first time I've ever shopped at Victoria's Secret. Ever. So that was a big NSV for me. But, you know, that I don't know that that was necessarily something that I did for myself for reaching a certain milestone, but it's just something I did for myself because I wanted to feel better about how I looked, and I wanted, you know, the girls to be up here instead of down here. So I needed to buy new bras because my old ones were getting too big. So I've it's hard to say, but I've never had a problem rewarding myself. Yeah, but usually it's shopping or something similar to that. So I'm actually going to do a part 2 to this video because I've got a few more questions to do. So I will see you guys in a few minutes with part 2.